I realize this is the last time I'm going to be filming in this room. That isn't me like packing up this room. I know I'm sad, but welcome back to my channel. My name is Sid and I hope you're having a wonderful day, and if you're not, I hope you're taking really good care of yourself. Now today I'm doing a part 2 of answering your guys' questions about Durham University. I did my first part and I think it is the most viewed video on my channel, and I've had a lot more questions about Durham in general, so I figured why not make a part 2. So these are all questions I've been asked in my comment section, so thank you so much to all the people that have asked me questions, and I don't think there's anything else I really need to say, so let's just get straight into it. On a way of hanging up my iPad, so if you see me looking down, because I have all the questions there and I wrote some like rough answers out. But my first question was, what are some of my favorite societies? Now I have 2 favorites, but I also have some recommendations. So my first favorite is, should be no surprise, is Crochet Society. I don't know if you can see, I actually have a crochet project behind me at the minute. I am the social secretary for Crochet Society, and I think even if crochet is not your thing, I think it's really good to get involved in a hobby-based society while you're away at university, as it helps you carve out time for that hobby. You go to like 1 meeting a week and it's like an hour or 2 hours, and you can step away from your laptop or step away from your reading and just go enjoy your hobby with people that also enjoy your hobby. I think I feel a lot less pressure now that I am a member of Crochet Society to be productive within my hobby, where I don't feel like obligated of like, oh, I'm not crocheting anymore and it makes me sad. Like I can go, oh, what, I went to that Crochet Society meeting this week and I did have time for my hobby. I hope that rambling makes sense. Next is Canadian Society, as I'm a Canadian student at Durham University. I really recommend, if you're an international student coming to a university, looking into whether there is a society either for your specific country or your sort of region of the world. Knowing people that have experienced similar things from your home country while away at university is a really good way to build support networks, because even though I do know a lot of fellow international students, their experiences are a little bit different than mine, and I think it's really good to have a specific group for where you're from. So those are my 2 favorite societies. I've also heard really good things about pole dancing society and yoga Pilates society. I have gone to yoga Pilates society twice and I really did enjoy it. I think it's really good to try and stay active at university as well, whether it's getting involved in collegiate level sports or Team Durham if you're good enough, which pop off if you are. You know, sports aren't your thing and you just want to do like a chilled yoga class or try something new like pole dancing potentially. I think it's really good to get involved in a society that keeps you active as well. And these aren't the only like active societies. Being active in uni has such a good knock-on effect on your mental health, where I can really see on weeks where I've just been crammed in front of a laptop working, I just feel so garbage. By being active and getting out, whether I'm running or rowing or just going on a walk, I feel so much better, and that is reflected in my grades. So my next question was, how expensive is Durham in terms of accommodation costs after first year? So I would say, talking to my friends and what I've seen on social media and knowing what my rent is, I would say the average rate for a week sits around the 130 to 150 pounds per week, but it does depend on the area and the house. There are some areas of Durham like Gilesgate that are a lot cheaper versus areas like Claypath and the Viaduct that tend to be a bit more expensive if the living in Durham just isn't feasible to you due to cost. Because I think I said in my video I did with my boyfriend, Durham actually made the BBC for how expensive uni housing is here. It is disgusting, to be honest. So if living in Durham just is an option to you due to the cost of housing, I know people that live in Newcastle and commute in and it's cheaper for them, and I know people that live in villages outside of Durham and commute in. So it's just something I would factor in if you choose to not live in Durham, because it will have an effect on your ability to socialize. I think the trains stop running at, I want to say like 10:30, 11. I think the buses stop running around a similar time, so you're not gonna be able to go out with your friends in Durham, or you'll have to find someone that's cool with you, like crashing on their couch. Private buildings like United Student Castle, there's like 5 or 6 different companies in Durham, tend to be more expensive, but they're like brand new builds. They have a lot of amenities and their bills included, so they do tend to be more expensive than what I would call like a private house through a letting agent. They tend to be cheaper than private buildings, but they can be old and they have a lot of their own issues, like being cold and moldy. Like my house this year, I think all of my videos I sound really stuffed up and froggy, and it's just because I have so mold in my room, and a lot of landlords tend not to do bills included. I would definitely look for a bills included house. It's so much less stressful because you're not constantly either chasing down your flatmates to pay money for your Wi-Fi or electricity or water, or you're not constantly being chased down. Landlords do tend to have a limit on it, so you're not constantly having your lights on or water running, but I do think it is a really good alternative considering how expensive utilities are in the UK at the minute with the cost of living crisis. That being said, there is the option to remain in college after your first year, but it is really, really competitive. I know the communication between the colleges and students as to who was getting college housing and who wasn't was really poor this year, so I would keep that in mind and I wouldn't depend on that as your first choice. I know there are Facebook pages people tend to use over, and there's a housing Facebook page that people tend to use to find housemates. Actually how I found my housemates this year. They saw my posts and took me into their house, and I'm very, very grateful. I hope this all makes sense. This is probably a lot of information all at once, but Durham housing is notorious. Do catered colleges still give meals for those staying between terms? I know for the break between Michaelmas and Epiphany, so like winter break they do, and I know the break between Epiphany and Easter they do, and they honestly look really good. I've seen pictures of like the Christmas meals they've done and they look amazing. I also know if you stay in Durham over the winter holidays, they do a Christmas dinner in the cathedral, and if you're a student staying in Durham, you get an automatic invite to it, and it looks stunning, like straight out of Harry Potter. It looks so cool. Short answer, yes. Next question is, how are the job prospects for Durham graduates? What is the general outlook in terms of employment? This person's got like offers from other universities, which good for them. I think in general, it's really tough to find work in the UK at the minute. My boyfriend got his master's in January, and it's now May, and he just got a job offer, so about 5 months. Obviously, I do think it depends what field you're in degree wise. That being said, Durham degrees are held in a really high regard. If I get chatting to people, whether it's on a train or a queue, and they ask like, what are you doing in the UK? And I say, oh, I go to Durham University. They're always like, oh wow, that's a really good school, good for you for getting in. That being said, I don't think you can 100% depend on where you got your degree from to get you a job. You do need to show you're a well-rounded student by being involved in the wider school community. Durham does offer a lot of work experience and internships, so that can definitely boost your employability. I also recommend getting involved in societies and not just being a member, but getting on the exec, because that shows really good leadership skill, organizational skills, and time management to also be a university student and involved in societies. So short way of answering this, I would say job prospects are meh in the UK right now because of how everything is, but Durham is held in a high regard compared to universities that are ranging lower. I would say it's more on you as a person to put in the work and show you are a good person to employers rather than depending on, oh, I went to Durham to get a job. So I hope that helps you. Next question is, how much time do you spend roughly on independent study per day or week? I will say it's really variable. I study anthropology, and thankfully so does the person that asked this question, but I have a really set way of structuring how I prep for my classes. If you want video on how I structure prep for my classes and prep for my formatives and summatives, I would love to do that next year, so comment down below so I know to do that. But basically I do all my readings a day before my class, so I have a good background going into class. I would say most profs tend to assign 2 to 3 mandatory readings a week. So I would say rough math, I spend about an hour to an hour and a half per class per week on just prepping for lectures, plus an extra half an hour to an hour if I have a seminar that week. And seminars tend to run bi-weekly, and they usually have 1 or 2 readings for them. So just readings, I would say I do anywhere between an hour and a half to 2.5 hours of prep per class every week. So for formatives that are like drafts you don't really get graded on, I spend no more than an hour and a half, and I actually time myself on them because they're drafts. I just want to make sure I'm on the right path, not that like everything is perfect, so I don't waste a ton of time on those. Summatives is where I put the most work in. I would say I spend anywhere between 6 to 10 hours per summative, and I think 10 is honestly low. There are summatives I've probably spent north of 20 hours on, which I know sounds gross, and I would agree with you. I try and meet with all of my profs before I like submit my summative. Obviously you can't show your prof your summative before you submit it, but you can ask questions. I usually bring in like an essay plan and just ask like, does this sound good? What can I do to alter this to make sure I can bump myself up from a 2-1 to a first? These meetings are also never more than 15 minutes a piece. So rough math, I usually have 5 classes a term. I spend 5 to 12.5 hours a week doing reading prep for lectures and seminars, 7.5 hours over the term on my formatives, then 30 to 70 hours on summatives, but most of my summatives are right during break and not over the term. So I would say I spend around 44 to 92 hours a term on work outside my lectures, so call it 4.5 to 9 hours a week prepping. But I do think it's really variable depending on the week, where some weeks I might have 3 formatives due in a week and 3 seminars and like a bunch going on, versus other weeks I just don't have any, so I would keep that in mind. So my next question was, what is the culture of Durham like? I would say overall Durham has a really great culture. Students tend to look out for student stats, both from a mental health and safety point of view, whether it's if you see someone like upset, people will tend to like stop you and be like, hey, are you okay? Or if you're on a night out and upset and really drunk, people will make sure you get home. I would say there's a bit of a locals versus student mentality that I've talked about before, but I do think it is fading a little bit. That being said, my boyfriend's family is from up north, and maybe I'm just clueless about it now, but I don't notice it as much as I have in previous years. Like any place and environment, there's gonna be people you really don't like. I don't think that's avoidable. I think overall at Durham University there is a crowd for everyone. There's so many societies and sports teams and just ways to get involved that I think you'll find your people. You just really have to look for them sometimes, and you really have to have almost like a trial and error perspective with making friends, which can be really annoying and overwhelming and disheartening, but when you find your people, they're just amazing. And I love my friends. I think, yeah, the culture of Durham is great. You just gotta have to work for it, if that makes sense. I hope it does. My next question was my second to last question, which is actually really good because I talk about societies a lot on my channel, but I talk about collegiate and student union societies and haven't explained the differences of them. This question was, could you explain the societies within a college and a society within a student union? Is there a difference? Yes, there is. I would think of it as like a governing body. Like if this is the overall like university, it's like a circle I'm drawing with my hands. This is collegiate societies and this is student union societies. They're just separate. Student union societies have to abide by student union rules. Collegiate societies have to abide by college rules. That's why you see repetition in society type, whether it's, you know, like an LGBTQ plus support society. That's what I can think of off the top of my head. There's a lot at collegiate levels, but there's also at the student union level. Collegiate level societies tend to be a lot smaller because they're only really available to people within that college, versus student union societies are available to the entire university. So it kind of just depends what environment you'd like. If you want something a lot smaller and cozier versus larger and more wide-reaching, it's kind of up to you. And you can also be involved in both. You can kind of test the waters of if you like collegiate level societies and student union level societies. I think you should get involved in both. You don't have to repeat societies if you don't want to, but it is a really great way of meeting people both within your college and within the broader university. So I hope that makes sense. The person that commented this, if it doesn't, just ask down below and hopefully I will clarify even more. I realize I don't explain stuff ever. I just ramble at a camera and hope it turns out well. This is my last question. This is really similar to my fourth question, which is, does the university offer help for a graduate job or internship opportunities within a degree? To my knowledge, yes, but it does depend on the program. I'm anthropology, so I get emails about field courses and internships and helping profs out and whatever it might be. I don't know what it's like for other degree programs. There is a job center at the university that will send out like a weekly newsletter of internships and work opportunities available to students, so I'd definitely sign up for that if you kind of know what's going on and what opportunities are available to you. That being said, a lot of my friends that are graduating this year that have jobs lined up, or my boyfriend for example, find jobs through LinkedIn and Indeed. So I would recommend that you're casting a wide net. You obviously want to make yourself look as attractive to employers as possible, so getting internships and work opportunities is definitely a really good way to get work once you've graduated. But I would say make sure you're not just limiting yourself to looking only on online job boards or only through what the university is offering. Make sure you're looking at both. Those are all my questions for today. If you guys have even more questions, comment them down below and maybe I will do a part 3. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. At the time of filming this, I have 146 subscribers and I'm trying to reach 200 by my birthday at the end of June. So if you could please subscribe, I would really appreciate it. If not, it's no big deal. I hope I will see you again soon. And now it's time for the end of video tradition. My water bottle, she's a little dirty right now because I fell carrying her the other day. She's also leaking a lot. We take a sip of our water. We stay happy, we stay healthy, and we are kind to other people, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.